But we're proud to have you here. We're privileged to have you here, and thanks for spending some time with us and trying to make us more extraordinary.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So hopefully Matt got you super nice and tired.
Right.
As you're hearing me speak, you're fading off. No.
Right.
No, in all seriousness, I'm so thrilled to be here. I really am. And Matt knows me well enough to know that I love meeting people.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I'd way rather be learning about you than be sitting up here talking about me, in all honesty. But I'm always humbled when I get a chance to speak about my thoughts and life experiences with anyone who actually cares to listen. And so, with that said, I really appreciate you choosing to be here today. I'm honored for that. Now, in full disclosure, I know you have to be here because Matt's forced you to be here. That's tongue in cheek, right?
Except the one guy who was so quick, and I'm holding.
Oftentimes when I go to speak, I'm speaking as someone who's a former NFL wide receiver, Super Bowl winner, played alongside Hall of Famers, against some Hall of Famers, and that is true. That is who I am. But the real underlying story of my experience to and through the NFL is that I had this epiphany. And I thought that I was here pursuing this NFL dream, and it really was that I was on this odyssey, this spiritual journey. And it awakened in me this level of consciousness that I didn't even know was possible. And over the years, I've really realized that consciousness is one of the most powerful assets that we possess, yet I will tell you it's one of the most underutilized, and that's compromising the relevance we should be having in this world. And I want to do something about that. And so for me personally, in my journey to the NFL, my circumstance really forced upon me this revelation. And the revelation was all these possibilities that existed in me when I was willing to get out of my own way and make myself vulnerable to the unknown. That's the only reason I was able to sustain an 8-year NFL career. I played on 5 different teams. That's not ideal. You'd love to work for one company for your entire career. You'd love to play for one team your entire career. That wasn't my path. There was a moment in my life where I made a conscious choice to choose to be what others wouldn't. I chose to be extraordinary. I will share with you what extraordinary meant in my life, and I hope that it inspires you to ask yourself, do I want that? I want to be that. I want to make extraordinary my choice. And the great thing about sports is that you can draw analogies and connections from the sports world to virtually any other world, including yours. And so I will do that today, at some point while I'm speaking with you. So dating back to when I was 8 or 9 years old, that's as early as I can remember that I wanted to play professional football. I had written in a journal that that's what I was going to be one day, a professional football player. Had no idea what that really meant. I just was captivated on what I saw on TV. So I literally grew up playing football nonstop in the streets, got the scars to prove it. And I didn't really play organized football until I got to high school. My mom wouldn't let me play organized football. And I finally get to high school as a freshman, and now's my chance. And I'm a 5'5", 118-pound freshman. And there's a problem with that. Because the guy who I wanted to be was my hero. I was an LA Rams fan, and my favorite player was a guy named Eric Dickerson, who was 6'3", 230 pounds. It's a far cry from 5'5", 118. And I thought I was going to be the next him. It didn't work out that way. My first year playing football as a third-string running back. But I was starting on defense for about half the season until I had a coach who asked me to go back and catch a punt. Never done it in a game. I'm like, sure, why not? Go back to go catch this punt. Goes between my arms, between my legs. The other team recovers it on about our own 5-yard line. The assistant head coach believes I wasn't trying, so he sees to it that I was benched for the rest of the year. So that was my first year experience. Now I will tell you, in today's day and age, if that happened to someone who's young today, they would quit. They'd walk away. Because they didn't get what they wanted, and it was supposed to be easy. That's why. And unfortunately, there are a lot of parents who would let them, because they want them to be comfortable. Well, comfortable doesn't bring success. And when you do that, you're denying yourself the learning experience of resolve, courage, resiliency, going out and fighting for what it is that you want. So the tragedy isn't that you quit, the tragedy is that you deny yourself of learning that, because the world's going to require that of you. That's the tragedy. I wasn't discouraged enough to stop playing. Played my sophomore year, played my junior year. By the time I was a junior, I was one of 3 juniors that was starting on an all-senior varsity football team. And by the time that season was over, I was what they call a blue chip player, which means that by definition, you're one of the best of your position and virtually a guaranteed Division I scholarship back. So I literally had all the letters to prove that as well. My dream school was Miami. They were all the way across the country, but I fell in love with them. That might be the only place I didn't get a letter from. But I got a letter from every school you can imagine. I got handwritten ones from a number of them as well. So I had every reason to believe that my dream of playing Division I football was going to come true. My senior season, I finally got a chance to play wide receiver. That's what I played in the NFL. And I got a chance to play it consistently, so much so that I fell in love with it. I had played defense all the way through my career up until that point. But the second I tasted what it felt like to score touchdowns, I was like, I'm done with defense.
Over.
I want this. And so my senior year, I had this great season. Had the accolades to prove it. Now the season's over, and now I'm just waiting, right? I'm figuring that I'm going to have my pick of the litter to decide where I want to go. The recruiting window opened up, and then before I knew it, it closed, and I was standing there with nowhere to go. The head football coach of Ventura College came to my house and said, listen, if you'll come to Ventura College, we're going to pass the ball 75% of the time. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to give that a try. And I did. And unfortunately, none of that was true. I ended up being our leading wide receiver and ended up with 18 catches. And so I just wasted a year in my eyes. So I decided I was going to transfer to this other junior college where they literally passed 85% of the time. What happened though was that head coach resigned or got fired, I don't remember, and one of the other coaches on the staff became the new head coach. And they implored me to stay. They were like, please, I promise you it's going to be different. I'm like, I don't know. Chris, I promise, just stay, give me a chance. I did enough of the opportunities that I became what they call a California Junior College All-American. Ironically, as a return man, the same guy who dropped the punt and got benched for it. So here I am again going, all right, well, I did everything I was supposed to do. I should still be able to go play Division I football. And about the time the recruiting window was opening up, it was brought to my attention that there was a miscalculation of how many units I needed to go directly to Division I school and play. And in fact, I wouldn't be able to do that. I'd have to redshirt. And no Division I school wants a JC transfer who can't play right away. They want your seniority. So literally, it made all of them dismiss me as a prospect. So here I am again going, you've got to be kidding me. And just as I'm letting that all just fester, right? It's festering really nicely to where it could totally derail me. Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, a Division II school, comes around. And about 2 days after I found out I couldn't go directly to Division I school, they stopped me in to watch film, and they see me. And they said, oh my gosh, who's that guy? And the coach goes, believe it or not, you can get him. They're like, you're kidding, what happened? And he told them what happened. He can't go directly to Division I school and play, but he can go directly to Division II school and play. That wasn't my dream. But nonetheless, that night, he's at my house sitting in my living room. That same recruit. And he says, listen, we never get guys like you. We don't get a ton of scholarships, and the ones we get, we got to slice and dice to try to get as many good players as we can. But if you'll come to Cal Poly SLO, we're going to offer you a full ride. And if you come, we're going to use you in every way we possibly can. And that year, my first year of four-year school, my junior year, I put myself on the NFL map. I had a big season. They did exactly what they said they were going to do. And by the time my season ended, I was a projected 3rd to 6th round draft choice in the NFL going into my senior year. And that became tangible when spring football started. And I was going out to practice, and I look up on the rails, and there's the scouts from NFL teams with their Eagles shirt on and their Steelers shirt on. I'm like, that's crazy. They're here to see me. So it became real. It was no longer just some dream. It was tangible. And I went home that summer, and I was fortunate enough to have a friend who had a brother-in-law that was playing for the Detroit Lions. And there was a quarterback for the Lions who actually lived in Ventura, my hometown. So I went out and spent the entire summer catching every single day of the week with an NFL quarterback, working against an NFL defensive back, the guy who covers guys like me. So when I went back to school at Cal Poly, I felt completely ready to go take what I wanted. And about a week and a half into training camp, there had been those scouts there every day. I pulled my hip flexor. And then the season began, and I played the first 2 games with less than 100%. And I did very little, very uneventful. Finally, going into my 3rd game, I was 100%. And now I knew I had to make up for lost time. who are playing a game, and it's about 8 minutes into the game, and I'm lined up on the left side, and the quarterback throws the ball to me, and if this were the sideline, I go to catch it like this, and I'm trying to keep my toes in, and I'm falling down, and as I'm hitting the ground, a linebacker lands on top of me, and boom, immediately I suffer a third-degree shoulder separation. My season's done for the year. And I spent, as opposed to getting a surgery, I spent a month and a week in a splint. And I went into that splint at 188 pounds. When I came out of that splint, I was 172. So I looked like a fraction of the guy who was an NFL prospect. And now I was left to try to rehab, just to get to a point where I could start working out again. And I knew nothing about what my future would hold. So when the season ended, I started slowly getting back into shape, or trying to anyway. And I remember, for about the first 4 weeks of trying to get back into shape, I felt horrible. Oh my gosh, I know I haven't done anything for a while, but I shouldn't feel this bad. And finally I went to the doctor and I found out that I had caught mono. So it was just one thing after the next. Meanwhile, shortly thereafter, I get my first NFL workout. And I had about 5 of them, back to back to back to back to back, and none of them were good. I just couldn't reach a point where I could show them my best. I wasn't ready for it. Physically, I wasn't ready for it. Mentally, I was still bitter. Really bitter. The draft came and went, and they never called my name. But I had 5 teams, by some miracle, that wanted to sign me as a free agent. And the San Diego Chargers are one of them. The problem was I did no evaluation as to whether or not San Diego was really a good opportunity. But nonetheless, I was like, okay, I'm going to get my chance. And I'll never forget, the night before, my roommate and best friend went to Presto Pasta, had dinner, and that night I got food poisoning. Which should have been a sign of things to come. But I got food poisoning. And it's the next day that I'm leaving to go down and fly to San Diego because we have our first mini camp, which is about to start. And in reality, had I made the team? Not really. I was like renting space on the team. And I remember us driving that shuttle into this parking area where we walked down through this tunnel and took a right, and we're walking through another tunnel, and to the left is the locker room. And I walk in, and it looks nothing like the Cal Poly locker room. And immediately to my left, I see Junior Seau, one of the best linebackers ever. And he's a behemoth of a man. 6'3", 250, 255. And I'm like, this is insane. Like, I'm in an NFL locker room. And we're walking through it, and they're directing us to where to go, and around this corner is where they put the rookie locker room. Then I look up, and my reality hit me. I look up, and I see my jersey number. I see number 47. And I knew that was not a good sign. And here's why. Because when you're a wide receiver, generally speaking, there are 3 types of numbers that you covet. An 80-something number, a team number, or a single-digit number. You do not covet a 40-something number. And when I saw that, I knew, like, are they really serious about giving me a chance? I go into our individual meeting room where all the wide receivers are now together, and I start doing the head count. There's 16 of us. I'm like, ooh, those aren't good numbers. And then I start realizing, as I hear guys talking, that they have 5 guys there who were there the year before. So you're like, wait a minute. They're keeping 5. They have 5 guys here who were here last year. Well, why would they not be here then this year? Like, why would they not like them again if they were good enough last year? And the rest of us 11 are all rookies. As I'm looking around, I realize there's nobody else in the room who has a number like mine. So that's when I knew they had no interest in giving me a chance to really make that team. And if that wasn't enough, going out for the first 3-day 5-practice minicamp told me everything. In 5 practices, I got 2 repetitions of anything. 2 in 5 practices. I got jammed out of bounds on one of them, and I caught a 12-yard route on another, and Junior Seau came and knocked the wind out of me. Those are my 2 repetitions in 3 days. I remember going back to the airport, my best friend couldn't wait for me to call him to tell him all about that camp. So I call him from the airport. He's like, CT, how was it, man? I want to hear all about it. I'm like, bro, I'm getting cut. He said, what? What are you talking about? It was 1 camp. I said, dude. I said, you don't get it. I came here, they got 16 wide receivers fighting for 5 spots. They have 5 guys here returning from the year before. They gave me number 47. No one else has a number like mine. I got 2 repetitions in 5 practices, and I got jammed out of bounds, and I got the wind knocked out of me, dude. I'm literally the low man on the totem pole. There's no way I'm coming back. And the phone call never came. So sure enough, I go back down to my second camp. It's now a 2-week camp. And there were guys who were cut, I just wasn't one of them. So now there's 13 guys. And because there are less guys, I get more reps. And because I'm in better mental and physical shape, I do more with those reps. And by the time those 2 weeks are up, I know one thing. I can do that. I can play. I can make this team. But I also know my reality. My reality was this. When I come back for the big training camp, I'm going to get 1 repetition every single practice to show them why they need to see me again. 1. It was the first time in my life that I was faced with the reality that I can't risk being like everybody else. So honestly, it was the first time in my life that before I even got started, I decided that I was going to work with a purpose and an intention that I never did before. And that was to be extraordinary. You can't be ordinary when they give you number 47. You can't. And I knew that. So I told myself that I'm going to do everything that I think other people want. I'm going to work to a point where I think I've challenged my threshold, and then I'm going to work another 15 or 20%. And sure enough, that's what I did for almost 2 months. I had about 2 months to prepare for training camp.
He had to go to, he's got to catch a flight.
Oh, was that bad? Jeez.
Great. That was great, yeah. He just wanted to stay.
So I had 2 months to prepare for training camp, and so that's how I worked for 2 months. And when those 2 months were up, I did everything that I could do. And I remember a couple of days before I was going to leave to go down to San Diego for training camp, I was getting ready one morning, and I looked in the mirror, and it just hit me. I was looking at myself going, oh my gosh. Like, I turned into something that I just never knew I could be. Up until that point, it was about proving that I could make that team. About showing everybody that I was good enough to be in the NFL. But at that moment, I was like, no. I don't control that. I don't control some coach and whether or not he's going to give me a chance to show him and prove to him that I can make that team. I don't control whether or not he's going to have a bias in favor of somebody else and a bias against me. I don't control that. I can't do anything about that. The only thing I could control is what I chose to turn myself into, and I've done that. And for the first time ever, I've seen what I'm capable of becoming when I don't question whether or not I can get what I want. You have no idea how that liberated me from feeling the pressures of training camp when I went there. Because when I went there, what I thought was going to happen is exactly what happened. I got 1 repetition every practice. So when I got my rep, I was ready for it. I made them go, wow, I need to see him do that again. And so I did it again. And then I do it again. Then I looked for better DBs to go against so they knew that I could do it against anybody. And before you knew it, I'm not doing it with my rep. I'm doing it with someone else's rep. And then someone else's rep. And then someone else's rep. And I'm leapfrogging guy after guy after guy. And after 3 preseason games, the team had to cut down from 90 players to 65. And so after that 3rd game, there was only 6 wide receivers left standing, and I was one of them. It was me and this other rookie named Wade Butler, number 6. Number 40-something, number 6. They made no secret about it. They loved him from day one. Asked him to come early to meetings so we could learn the playbook better. Asked him to stay after practices to catch balls with the quarterbacks. They weren't asking 47 to do that. They were asking him. And I knew and he knew that we were both going to get the 4th quarter of this last preseason game to go show them why we deserved to be that guy who secured that last spot on the team. And I remember it was up in San Francisco. I'll never forget just jogging in and just taking it all in going, this could be the last time I put on an NFL jersey. This could be the last time I jog on an NFL field. And I want to savor this moment. And then the game would start. And the 4th quarter would come, and sure enough, we went in. And they tried 5 or 6 times to get Wade Butler the ball. And for whatever reason, it did not work out for him. He slipped one time, the ball was overthrown, underthrown, it was deflected. He never got a chance to make a play. He never dropped the ball, but he never got a chance to actually make a play. Late in the 4th quarter, I'm running a route from the left side in the slot by the quarterback right down the middle of the field. That was shortly after watching one of our wide receivers get absolutely blasted to a point where he was coughing up blood and on the field for about 12 minutes. So I'm like, I don't love this route, right? But that's the route I ran. When I'm running the route, I make my move, I turn around and the ball's in the air and it's coming to me. And I will tell you, if you've never had a moment like that, of that magnitude, that time really stands still. And I know the magnitude of the moment. There's no doubt about it. I know if I drop that ball, Chris Thomas is going home. And I also know if I catch that ball, Chris Thomas could go home. I jump up, I catch it, I fall down for like a 24-yard gain. That'd be the only ball I get thrown to me the entire game and all of preseason. The next day was cut day to the final roster. Wade and I were roommates because there's only 2 rookies left. And the way that it works is you get a phone call from the guy we call the Grim Reaper, who calls you and says, Coach wants to see you, bring your playbook. And that means it's over. And sure enough, that afternoon the phone rings and I'm closest to it, so I got to answer it. I pick it up and I say, hello? And I hear, hi Chris, this is Marty Hearn. And that was the Grim Reaper. And immediately I go, I'm done. He's cutting me. I did everything I could, but it's me. He's cutting me. I'm already playing that in my head. Hello? Hi Chris, this is Marty Hearn. Hi Mr. Hearn, how are you? I said, good. I said, listen Chris, I wanted to tell you, we like what you've done. We like you a lot. We're going to keep you. I need to talk to Wade. I said, Wade, the phone's for you, bro. And sure enough, Wade was a great guy. Got cut. It would never be in another training camp again. His career ended. That one catch and all the work leading up to that moment launched my 8-year NFL career. Because a couple months prior, I chose to be something that other people wouldn't. And that changed my visibility. That changed the way people saw my relationship. It's inevitable. They're going to see your relationship in a different light. Now, whether they want to embrace that or not, that's their choice. They can't ignore what you become. I would go on to spend 2 years in San Diego, another year in San Francisco. And that's a story all in itself, because that's where really the tumultuous experience of playing the NFL happened for me. But I spent a year in San Francisco, played some of the best football of my life, the year after they won the Super Bowl. I go to Washington, and I play with the Redskins for 2 years, and that tumultuous experience in the NFL continues. And again, if there's time at the end, please ask me about it. Because it's in large part what has shaped me into who I am today. And between San Fran and Washington, I played extremely good football. But unfortunately, I was playing it in an environment where the 2 primary decision makers had no interest in supporting my success. There were a bunch of other people who had a very contrary opinion of my skill set. To a point where guys are going, Chris, I love you. Chris, you're great. I mean powerful people. And yet, the decision maker said, no. You're not part of my agenda. I'm not interested in seeing your skill set. And it was a really trying time, really trying experience, which I'll get into in just a second. But I spent 2 years in Washington like that. And I was going into my 3rd year. And at that time, we had a coach who was a really good guy. He wasn't my position coach, he was a quarterback coach. His name was Mike Marks. And he had taken a job to become the offensive coordinator for the St. Louis Rams. And I remember seeing him at the local Home Depot during the offseason before my 3rd year with the Washington Redskins and congratulated him. Said, Coach, congratulations, that's fantastic. He goes, hey, thank you so much. And he says this. He says, listen, Chris, you're a really good player. Really good player. You do everything right. Keep being who you are. Keep doing what you do. Don't get caught up with anybody else and you're going to be just fine. I was like, thank you so much, Coach. So although the head coach didn't want to see Chris being extraordinary, he did. And you never know how that's going to manifest in your life. I thought nothing of it other than sad to see him go, but happy for him in his position. I would end up making the team in 1999. And I made the team, played in my first game, the second game, at the first kickoff of the game, I pulled my hamstring. And that was the open door for him to cut me. And that's exactly what he did. And as I was questioning everything, the phone rings. And who is it? Mike Marks. From where? St. Louis. And he says this, Chris, listen, we're going to have a wide receiver that's going to get suspended for 4 weeks. And I want you to be the guy that we sign for that 4-week period. It's all temporary. Can't promise you anything after that. Don't even know you'll be the guy, but I want you to come in here and work out, and I'd like that guy to be you. So when you're healthy, you let me know. It's like, wow, Coach, thank you so much. A couple weeks later, I got myself healthy. And the way it works is they have Tuesdays off in the NFL, so that's the day they usually, bring guys in to work out. I kind of made the naive assumption it was just me. The spot was mine to lose. I fly into St. Louis, and I knew I was flying in, working out, and a couple hours later, flying back out. I go to the airport, I jump in the shuttle, and there's somebody else there. He wasn't another wide receiver. So they were working him out as well with me. I'm like, I guess it's not mine to lose. And his name was Marcus Nash. He was the first-round draft choice of the Broncos the year before. I'm like, okay. I've never shot away from competition. I'm ready for this moment. And because I went into every workout with that mentality, they seemed to work for me. We go back into the lounge. Marcus and I are sitting there. The scout who brought us there comes in and retrieves Marcus and escorts him out. I think nothing of it. I'm like, his flight probably leaves sooner than mine. It is what it is. 45 minutes later, the same scout comes back. And he sits down and says, Chris, listen, coaches wanted me to tell you they're going to sign you. They're just not going to sign you now because the suspension doesn't start until next week. But what they'd like you to do is stay overnight, join the meetings tomorrow morning, and start getting acclimated to our offense. Are you okay with that? And the answer isn't, my wife and I had a 6 o'clock date at Outback Steakhouse down in Jordan. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the answer. Right? So I was like, absolutely, coach. Then he says this. I thought you'd like to know. Everyone who was there, and so you understand, the way that it works is everyone's there watching you, just like Matt is sitting right now. They're all standing like that, just watching you. The general manager, the vice president, the head coach, the offensive coordinator, the player personnel director, the lead scout, your receiver coach. Everyone's there just watching you, just like it's deathly quiet. So you know you're being scrutinized. And he says, I thought you'd like to know that if everyone who was there watching you, and Marcus, they all said the same thing. They all said if they didn't know who the former first-round draft choice was, and the former free agent was, they would have bet you were the former first-round draft choice. And I said, wow, thank you so much. And when he left, I had a chance to sit there and contemplate that. Because the reality is, that was probably the third moment in my life, or really the fourth moment in my life, in my NFL career, that I recognized what choosing to be extraordinary actually meant. The reason I was there is because Mike Martz saw me as being extraordinary. That's why I was there. The reason I was able to shine, more so than a former first-round draft choice, is because I chose to be extraordinary. At that point in time, no one prepared like me. I prepared with a purpose. I would go on the next week to be signed, and I'd be there for my 4 weeks. I did everything I was supposed to. I played out of my mind good. I knew it. But I also knew it was temporary. During that point in time, the Rams were killing it. The year before, we were 4-12. They had signed this quarterback who I played with for a couple of years, Trent Green from the Washington Redskins. He blew out his knee in the first preseason game. And some unknown guy named Kurt Warner ends up taking the helm. And that's the year it all started. And our team was amazing. Amazing. And it felt great to be there. I had never been in an environment the way that St. Louis felt. And I didn't want to leave, but I knew it was temporary. And I remember going out to the field on the 4th week that I was there, in our last practice before what would have been my last game, and went out to stretch early, just kind of by myself, again, taking it all in. And out comes our head coach, Dick Vermeil, one of the most revered coaches in the history of the NFL. And I go up to him and say, Coach, I just want to thank you for giving me a chance to be here. It's meant so much to me. I've loved my time here. And I can't thank you enough for giving me this opportunity. And he says, I see something in you. You've shown me a lot. And because you have, I'm going to cut somebody I really like to keep you here. And that's exactly what he did. He cut a tight end that he really liked, who the next year would sign with the Philadelphia Eagles and be a Pro Bowl tight end in order to keep Chris Thomas there. And he kept me there because of the same reasons that I keep telling you over and over and over again. Because I cared to be something that other people wouldn't. He saw that in me. He saw that in me. And that was the year we'd go on to be recognized as the greatest show on turf and win a Super Bowl.
That's right.
After that season, Coach Mill would retire and hand the helm to Mike Martz. I'd be in St. Louis for another year. And after that year was over, I knew I wasn't going back there. All of a sudden, the news breaks that Dick Vermeil missed football enough and he's coming out of retirement. He's now going to be the head coach for the Kansas City Chiefs. And about 2 weeks after he got settled, he, along with my former wide receiver coach from the Rams, who had taken a job as offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, called me. And they called me to ask if I wanted to come play for them in Kansas City. I would make the team, and wouldn't you know that I experienced some first ever in my entire career. At age 30, I had a chance to start for the first time ever. For 5 games. And although I had scored a number of touchdowns over the course of my career, in preseason, they never counted those games in like the actual history books. They don't count those statistics, which is kind of insane to think that because they're real people you're going against, right? Right? Not like they're helping you, right? They're real people. Back at Washington against the Washington Redskins in D.C., I actually would score my one and only regular season touchdown. And that would be my last year playing football. And I was done. I knew I was done. When I went back to Ventura, I drove back to Ventura from Kansas City with a buddy of mine, and it was my time to just detox. And I just sat there and just thought to myself, like, how in God's name did I navigate these shark-infested waters that was my career? To somehow manage an 8-year career. How? And it was, again, rhetorical. I knew how. Because I chose to be something that other people wouldn't. I pursued an ambition with a purpose that other people didn't. And that changed my relationship. That changed the dynamics of who I was to other people. It made me more visible than other people. For me, I got too much of the business side of it. So it was a business in my experience because of how the coaches were allowing me to experience the NFL. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so for me, that monumental event in those two environments, San Francisco and Washington back-to-back, literally took place every single day of practice. I literally had to gear myself up every single day of practice for a monumental event. Because if that day was the day I dropped one too many balls, that coach was waiting to give me my pink slip. I went through that for almost 4 years straight. It was brutal. I would not wish that on anybody. And the only reason I was tasked with that is because somebody obviously knew I could handle it. Because I went through what I went through, I become the source of enlightenment to the hopes and possibilities that exist in people's lives. I become that person because of what I inherit. And I've said this forever, perspective will shape your experience, not the experience itself. I didn't choose to be a victim. I think oftentimes our first inclination is to bemoan or lament what we didn't get, what didn't go our way, what's not working for us. That's where all our energy goes. That's destructive. You're imprisoning yourself. That's really how we function. Would you agree with that? We focus on that which we were denied instead of celebrate that which we derived. Oh, I kind of just made that up.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Somebody needs to write that down.
Yeah.
Honestly, we focus on that which we were denied instead of celebrating that which we derive from an experience. No one makes that choice but you. I chose to celebrate what it is I took out of that brutal experience because it's brought me to a point where I'm serving as this luminary to other people. If not for that experience, I'm not that guy. Because of what I went through, I have acquired this vast library of knowledge that is influencing change in the lives of people who didn't know change was possible. I mean, do you understand like what that feels like to be the bridge to that enlightenment? You really understand that? That defines me. People pay me. That's not why I do it. It's not a job. I do it because I care about people's success. I'm committed to that. I want their life to be better because I'm a part of it, in whatever capacity that is. That means more to me than anything else. And the beauty about that is the irony about that is money becomes a byproduct of that. Exponentially so, if you're doing it right. If you're doing what you do with purpose, money becomes an exponential byproduct of that. But most of us get it wrong. We want to pursue money first. I exist in one of the 3 most important capacities in someone's life. God, family, money. With Merrill Lynch, it was money. With these athletes, it's family. I'm working with someone's child that they love, that they adore, that they want to see become this great success story. I exist in that. I take that personally. Matt can tell you that. You guys also exist in that capacity. There's God, family, money. You exist as it relates to family. I mean, you represent a product, right, that has the ability to extend a life. That can't just be a job to you. That can't. That can't just be you going to work. That can't just be you collecting that paycheck. Not when you're serving in that capacity. No way. You're denying yourself this chance to be a bridge to a lifeline who then becomes an extension of somebody else's life. I'll explain to you what I'm talking about. You need to simply choose to do what you do with empathy, compassion, passion, consciousness, and awareness. That's it. If you will choose to do what you do with those qualities right there, you will change your relationship with everybody you come in contact with. Why empathy? I don't know, you tell me. You have your representation of a drug that can extend a life. The first thing you have to do is ask yourself, how would I feel if I just got that diagnosis? Immediately, you would be petrified. Because we're all aware that cancer is deadly. You'd be petrified because the first thought in your head would be, I'm not ready to go. Death could be imminent, but I'm not ready to go. Someone help me. Someone give me hope that my life won't end a week from now, a month from now, 6 months from now. Give me hope. You'd be asking that question. You'd be searching for those answers, would you not? You will never represent a product the way you otherwise could if you can't empathize and put yourself in that situation and go, what would I want to know? Well, then you go back to your own role as someone who's representing that product and go, okay, well, what does this product mean to that person? What kind of conviction do I have behind this product right here that I can communicate to the one person who's a lifeline to giving them that extension of life? I need to believe wholeheartedly that immunotherapy is exponentially better than chemotherapy at keeping the integrity of your body so that you can go on and in the best way possible give yourself a chance for this extension of life. You've got to believe that with conviction. Total conviction. Your conviction will determine your communication, which in turn will determine your connection with somebody else. Man, I'm killing it right now. That's a good one.
Well, we all agree. We're probably just not. Because we do this every day.
Yeah,
Your communication, I'm sorry,
We get this.
your conviction
that's right.
behind your communication will determine your connection with people. You'll never have conviction if you're not passionate and purposeful about what you do. There'll be no conviction there. You're just trying to make the sale. You're just trying to meet your quota. That's uninspiring. You're in a world where people are tired of that. You got a chance to be different with a product that you know is different. They need to feel that. You need to create that image for the doctor. Where you tell the doctor, you imagine yourself being diagnosed. How would you feel? He or she would be petrified too. They're going to be petrified too. The first thing they're going to think about is, I don't want to leave my kids. I want to continue being a husband or a wife. That's what they're going to think about. I need someone to give me hope. Then you take them back to being a doctor. Well, why did you choose to be a doctor in the first place? It should have been because they want to help people. They want to be that lifeline for people. So you make them think about that. Well, I have a product that allows you to be that lifeline to somebody else. You're going to be the reason, because of this product and your knowledge of it and your faith in it and giving it to someone, the reason they come back to you 3 years from now and say, thank you so much. You've allowed me to continue being a father to my child, a husband to my wife. You've allowed my child to see their 16th birthday. I mean, how can you not want that? All of us want to be relevant in life. How can you be more relevant than that? People's success is emotional to me. It's personal to me. That's why I'm different. I've chosen to be extraordinary. That's why I'm different. The best part about me is I'm anybody. I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy who makes certain choices. And those choices have made me different. You get a chance to be the same. You get a chance to be the bridge to the doctor being a lifeline to an extension of life. That's why you should be here. That's how you should represent that product. You gotta have that kind of conviction to communicate that every single time you talk to somebody. You'll never do that if your job's just a job. And we live in a world that's completely unconscious and just disconnected. It's brutal. I've never experienced a more narcissistic, self-serving environment than now in my lifetime. We're in a world of just consumers. I want to consume. I'm in it for me. What's in it for me? There couldn't be anything more uninspiring than that. And people are tired of that. They want you to be different. People are waiting for you to be different. The fact that you're in that unconscious environment, it's teed you up to go steal relationships from people. You need to make your relationship visible. The way you do that is by making a choice to be extraordinary. That's it. To do what you do with purpose, with empathy, with passion, with compassion, with consciousness, with awareness. That's how you do it. That's all it requires. And if you do that, then you become the person who allows someone else to see life from a 10,000-foot view. You have no idea how that changes people. You force somebody to give you the chance to talk about your product, and they see your relationship different like that. Because before they ever listen to you talk about your product, they're going to want to connect with you. You're the product, first and foremost. That's who they're buying. When people come to Chris Thomas and they hear me speak, they might not even hear what I actually say about how it can affect their lives. What they feel is the energy. What they feel is a passion. What they feel is a commitment. And I've heard that over and over and over again. I want that to be you. Everyone wants to be relevant. How more relevant can you be than that? I'm done. Thank you.
Great job. You did a great job.
Thank you.
And it is very inspirational because we do
We have a
have
growth
this
mindset.
conversation
Yeah,
with
it's a
our
growth-
teams.
yeah, we do.
And we are always, many of our teams have suffered from cancer, family members died.
Yeah.
Their passion, right?
Yeah.
So their passion's off the charts. So it really is focusing in on that and what is that extra effort, like the 10,000 hours of outliers.
Yes.
You went and did that extra.
I still have
And
it
that
back before.
is
Yeah,
what
me too.
does
Stuff we can be done.
So,
I do.
great
Your
job.
stuff still in there?
Yes, it is.
Me too.
So I gotta probably get my
Thank you so much.
I hope not.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you for being
Thank you guys for not falling asleep.
I enjoyed that. That was very inspiring as well.
No,
Some of the things, I was
it
reading
was
this
good.
book.
It was really good.
You talk about some of the things.
Thank you.
I'm just